All right, welcome to another episode of NFL Outdated Cover 2 series. This episode, we're talking about the Cincinnati Bengals, and we're going to do draft review and 2023 season preview. And I am joined by Josh Riesser from Sports Ethos Cincinnati. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you?
Doing well. Any day is a good day to talk about football, especially when you're talking about teams that are right up at the top, expected to contend for Super Bowls, like the Bengals. Love talking about Bengals. You have to be pretty excited as someone who covers the Bengals and a Bengals fan right now, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, growing up, I've been a Bengals fan since I was little, and it was a little rough. And I wasn't always treated the best, but now it's finally paid off. So, however, I don't get why they keep ranking the Bills ahead of us. It drives me crazy.
Yeah, it's the Bills have that promise. They've got Josh Allen, but when you look at quarterbacks, I mean, it's hard not to go with Joe Cool. It's hard not to go with him over Josh Allen, in my opinion. And kind of getting into that, obviously he's one of the faces of the franchise. What makes him so good, and what will he need to do to take the next step in 2023?
He just always seems to know where the ball needs to go, and just the way he can dissect the defense and staying calm under pressure. Like he's so slippery. People say he's unathletic, but I think you watch him dance in the pocket and do his little spinny moves. He's fun to watch like that. So get the ball out fast. I think that's what they're going to really work on. Probably run less. Something that, what they would always do, like first half of this season, although Joe was coming off that appendectomy, they would always run first and second down, no matter if it was second and long, they ran the ball. And it was just, they were just trying to plod Mixon, and it would never work. But now that they're going to move to this more pass-first offense, I think that just put the ball in Joey's hands.
So that's kind of what you're hearing. They definitely want to, pick the ball. I mean, obviously they've got the quarterback and they've got the receivers to do it, but that's really going to be the focus this year. Cincinnati to really kind of go more on the pass this year.
I believe so, yes. Especially since, I think losing P. Ryan is something that isn't talked about as much as it should be. So I think they're not going to rely on Mixon as much.
Well, let's get to that. So Mixon has been a solid running back, although he's been injured. And when you kind of look at him and then the addition of Chase Brown, I actually I love Chase Brown. I'm an Iowa fan. Watching him versus my team when he was at Illinois. And I actually ended up picking Chase Brown up in my dynasty league and in the rookie draft. And I like what he has kind of to offer. What do you see kind of, Joe Mixon's role, this year and then, maybe the future of Chase Brown as well?
So, yeah, I think Chase definitely not necessarily a backseat this year. I think this training camp will be interesting because that running back 2 spot is wide open. And if he can just, the knock on Chase is he has a lot of fumble issues. So definitely want ball security top of the list. But I think with Mixon's kind of lack of pass blocking, Chase could end up earning a good spot this year just for those kinds of plays. I do think Mixon probably outsnaps him a lot, though. And then going on, I mean, I thought Mixon was going to be cut this year. We were going to save $10 million of making him a post-June 1st designation. That contract.
Do you think it's still a possibility they might do that, or
not because they haven't added really anything else besides Chase Brown. If they would have gone out and added Zeke, like those rumors were going on about, maybe I could see it happening. But because I guess Zeke's still out there, so it's all good.
Yeah, I mean, it's I guess you look at if they would sign Zeke to a more team friendly deal. But he's been injured and just kind of on the downslide too. It's almost better to go with Mixon, kind of what you what you have. I mean, obviously, the contract sounds like it's, pretty big at this point.
Yeah. And the fact that Chase Brown is 5th round, I'm sorry, I was just looking that up. fifth round pick for Chase. Maybe if he had higher draft capital.
Yeah. Well, in looking at the Bengals backfield, obviously I do fantasy. I had for a while, tried to hang on to Chris Evans. I thought he might become a thing. I mean, what has kind of happened with him? And then it looks like they also have Travion Williams. What about some of those other backs there that are kind of fighting for that number 2 spot in the running backs?
They've actually talked Travion up a lot this offseason. I held on to Chris Evans a long time too in my dynasty league. He does get the ball in his hands. He's pretty effective, and they seem to draw up pass plays for him. They did in the playoffs. I can't remember which game that was, but for him, it's just the pass blocking and not trusting him enough there.
That makes a difference, yeah.
And Travion's been hurt, but he was a late round pick. I'm surprised he's kind of stuck around this whole time. But I think his calling is the pass blocking. So, yeah, that's just going to be a fun thing to watch.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about the Bengals, overall, it's a fun thing to watch. I mean, especially when you go to the wide receivers. My son actually does have, he's got a Burrow jersey, but he also has Jamar Chase jersey. And when you look at the Bengals wide receiver core, obviously you start with Chase, but you also have Higgins and Boyd. Talk about that group a little bit, and maybe obviously this year, maybe going forward, what you're you kind of seeing from them.
Well, I would like to hear T's extension being completed, because I'm like, it's like with Joe's, like, what's taking so long, guys? But no, I think regardless, okay, let me rephrase that. Last year in the playoffs, I think their lack of depth really hurt them. You have Trent Irwin having to step up and be your number 3 at times. Nothing against Trenton. I love that guy. And he did make some clutch catches. But you think you'd want someone maybe a little more athletic, a little more dynamic, that can bring something. But that said, when Chase, Higgins, and Boyd are all healthy like that, I think that's clearly the top tandem in the league.
Absolutely. As a Bears fan, I was, hoping that Bears would get one of the Bengals wide receivers. Obviously it didn't happen, but it looks like kind of going back to the draft. I mean, they did seem to address that position a little bit, with Charlie Jones out of Purdue. Actually, I'm a little bit familiar with him because he was at Iowa before he transferred to Purdue. So always, a big play guy there. And then I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Is Andre Yosivas or Yoshivas? Okay, and so they seem to in the mid to late rounds try to address the wide receiver position. Do they have places in this Bengals wide receiver core in 2023 as well?
I think Charlie will end up being the number 4, and I think he's also going to be the kick returner and punt returner.
Did that a lot at Iowa. Yep. Yeah,
I think it was Big Ten Special Teams Player of the Year, something like that.
Yeah.
And actually, Tyler Boyd next season, he'll be a cut candidate as well, because I think they can save over $10 million as well. And I think Chuck Sizzle ends up being their starting slot next year.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Did you just call him Chuck Sizzle?
Yeah, that's the nickname.
Love it. I didn't even know that. Chuck Sizzle. I love that. Well, yeah, I mean, you look at the Bengals draft. I mean, wide receivers are solid all around for the Bengals. If Chase has to be kind of, and it's between him and Jefferson, probably the best wide receiver in the NFL, right?
I'd say so. Yeah.
Yeah. And always making plays. But when you look at this draft, obviously they, went with DJ Turner in the second round, Jordan Battle. It looks like they really went with the secondary heavily. Obviously, that's that. They lost. They've got Dax Hill still. And who did they let go? They let another.
They lost Bates and Von Bell.
Yes. So is that kind of, they wanted to get younger then in the secondary?
It was more so about money.
Mm-hmm.
Jesse Bates, he got paid, and when he got franchise tag last season, you kind of knew the writing was on the wall. And then Vaughn, yeah, I don't think the Bengals wanted to pay him what Carolina did, and so they just kind of restocked. And last year they drafted Dax Hill and Tyson Anderson. So yeah, there's a stat. 4 defensive backs in the first 3 rounds the past 2 years.
Wow, yeah. I mean, I liked Jesse Bates, but I actually had him in one of my IDP fantasy football leagues, and it was actually Chidobe Awuzie was out performing him as far as points and everything, and I was like, okay, Jesse Bates has a name, and sometimes you have those players that have the name that are there, but I don't know if it's offense is going away from them or whatever it is, but Awuzie was making plays, and obviously teams have to allocate money. Obviously with the Bengals, that Joe's going to get paid. Joe and Chase are the big guys, right?
Right. I mean, yeah, and then you got to throw him in there just in case. Logan Wilson, the middle linebacker. They extended Jermaine Pratt this year, but they didn't extend Logan, which I thought it would have been the opposite. But maybe they're saving that for next season. I don't know. But I was going to say, so yeah, with all the money coming on offense, it makes sense why they would start to stack up on defense, especially because I think, Cheeto, his contract expires after next season. So, get all these young cornerbacks, see if someone can step up like Cam Taylor-Britt did last season. I think, he has a good shot at being the one if they don't re-sign Cheeto. And Mike Hilton, he's getting a little older, and he expires in 2025. But I think that's what DJ Ivey, the seventh round pick from Miami, because he's kind of more so known about blitzing and tackling against the run. But that's only, he's 7th round pick. Hopefully he can stick around. They have a lot of defensive backs, or cornerbacks, I should say.
Would you say then with this defense, like, is the strength kind of up front then, defensive line?
I'd say so. Like DJ Reader is the guy that does not get talked about at all, but he should be. And then Trey Hendrickson, he's been a very good signing for the Bengals. Hubbard's there. He's very good against the run. And then, so I think with Myles Murphy coming in, last year they had drafted Joseph Asai, but he was hurt for most of the year. I think it's almost kind of like a hockey line switch, because Henderson, good against the pass rush. Hubbard's good against the run. So they kind of complement each other well. And then Osai is good is good pass rushing, and Murphy's more so a run guy.
I was going to say, were you surprised then in the draft when they went with Myles Murphy, or was it just kind of the best available at that time?
I think it was more best available. I'm not completely sure about that. I was a little shocked. I was one of the guys hammering the tight end button. But I think with how it looks, I think I do like that they went Myles Murphy, just because what we said about the money. They're going to need that young defense to kind of be a little cheaper.
And it's tough. Obviously you said you're hammering the tight end button. It's tight end is such an interesting position because it's so important. Obviously, it has been with the Bengals, but you've had several players kind of cycle in that have been solid there. You look at, I think Joe Burrow can operate, as long as he's got someone who can catch the ball. And when you look at that tight end position, you have Irv Smith. Are you so I do an NFC North podcast, and the Vikings guys are always saying, good riddance to Irv Smith. Are you what are you expecting out of him this year with the Bengals?
The fact that they don't really prioritize the position in the pass game. I'd be happy if he puts up similar to what Hayden Hurst did last year. I don't know if he'll be like the explosive person that Hayden was, though, because Hayden was so clutch at getting those third downs, and he was not afraid. I call him Hurdle and Hayden because he's always trying to jump over people. But Irv, I mean, it'd probably be more so get the ball in his hands fast and maybe on like a little like flat route or a slant or something, a drag across the middle. But I don't have super high expectations. It was what, $2.5 million 1 year. That's the thing though about the Bengals, their tight end room. They're all on 1 year contracts, so it's like that's another reason why I wanted them to draft at least one, just so I had a little bit of clarity. Like there's Zach Kuntz. I can't remember what he was from. Maybe Old Dominion.
Yeah.
I wanted him in like the 4th round, but I think the Jets might have reached on him too. But the Jets just seem to like to stockpile tight ends, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at tight ends, obviously it's important, but I mean, not as important as a quarterback, not as important as some other pieces. Like if you have a solid quarterback and you know, a top end wide receiver, you know, it's something that you don't necessarily need to pay a lot of money for. But I'm sure it'd be nice to have the long-term answer there. So maybe this is a prove it year for Irv Smith. If he does well, it could be a you know, something long-term for them in Cincinnati.
I mean, he is young, so he does have that going for him. I think he's only 24 still, or 25. So
yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if they'd give him a big contract. I feel like maybe they like the tight ends of the next draft class better. I want that guy from Georgia, Bowers.
Oh yeah.
Sweet.
So when you look at you play fantasy football, right?
Oh yeah, big in the dynasty.
So when you look at targeting Bengals players, you know, obviously you've got, you know, Burrow and Chase. What are some under the radar Bengals players that you would target? Obviously, maybe in redraft and then in dynasty.
Well, I love Charlie Jones in dynasty. I'm trying to get him in all my leagues.
Okay.
Just because what if T does leave, and then what if Boyd leaves? Like he'll have to get snapped somehow.
I do like that because when you think about it, it is important to pick players that are attached to, you know, quarterbacks that are going to throw. And you know Joe Burrow's going to throw. You know they're going to, you know, rely on him, and also you know the defenses are going to be trying to key on Jamar Chase. So that other spot there, yeah, I like that.
What pick did you get Chase Brown at in your rookie draft? Was it like 2-3 or 2-4 or something?
I actually got him. Let me take a look. I believe it was in the 3rd or 4th round. Let me take a look here. Well, yeah, I know I ended up getting him. I traded back a few places for the pick, and I got him a couple spots before one of my, you know, fellow league mates wanted. He said he got a little bit mad on that. So I'm going to try to find that for you. But
sure.
Let's go ahead and talk about, you know, some of the storylines. You said running backs within the, you know, there with the Bengals. Is that what you're watching? What are some other storylines that you're watching for the training camp this year?
So yeah, definitely running back 2. I want to see how the receiver depth chart pulls out as well. See, because I mean, honestly, they could just give Trent Irwin reps over Charlie. You know, the whole veteran method,
right?
Especially if Charlie's going to be punt returning and kick returning. Let's see the cornerback depth chart. I'm interested to see who is cornerback number 4.
Right.
Right now, I've got DJ Turner slotted in there, but they went out and they signed Sidney Jones this offseason from Seattle. So there's another body. They drafted DJ Ivey in the 7th round, and then Jalen Davis is like a core special teams player for them. So so like Trey Flowers, we're losing him. He was I'm not saying he was key for the defense, but when he would come in, he would always cover the big tight ends. So I'm curious if that's what they brought Jordan Battle in to do, because the safety depth chart is pretty interesting as well, because they went out and signed Nick Scott from Los Angeles.
I always think that too. Yeah.
and they got Dax Hill, who I think is more so going to play the Von Bell spot, and they're going to let Nick Scott roam center field like Jesse was doing. But then, I mean, Jordan Battle can probably back up both of those spots. But I wonder if he's going to come in and guard the tight end when they have an athletic guy they got to cover like Kelsey.
Are you worried then? Obviously, with this young secondary and trying to figure things out, are you worried just within the division and within the AFC with who they have to face? I mean, Joe's going to have to put up some big points, big numbers this year. I mean, are you worried at all because of that?
Not necessarily. Pittsburgh doesn't scare me at all that often. Mm-hmm. That they brought back Canada and they made no additions really. I
think I tweeted out when he was first hired 2 or 3 years ago. I think that I thought it was ironic that basically that the Steelers had hired Canada, the one of the least offensive countries. But yeah. When you look at Pittsburgh, I'm sure that they don't bother you. I mean, within the division, what team worries you the most, and then who's the biggest rival?
Well, biggest rival is probably still Pittsburgh.
Really? Okay.
I guess we have kind of honestly, I hate Cleveland now because they have owned us almost every game that Joey's played. Honestly, they might have won every game. We might have gotten one, but it seems like every time we come out against Cleveland, we just come out flat. Like that Halloween game last year was so bad. So I'd like to see them. I don't know, and I trust Lou Anarumo more than anything now. That guy's proven that he's one of the best D coordinators.
Mm-hmm.
We're probably gonna if he does another successful season, we're probably gonna lose him next year.
Mm-hmm.
But the team that scares me the most, I mean, Baltimore is going to be interesting because they got that new offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to be less running. But I think with the Bengals added a lot of speed and athleticism this year to their defense, which they've been lacking for a long time. So I think it's gonna be a whole different defense. So I think they'll match up well especially with Cleveland too, because they'll probably want to run a more spread. I think they're trying to pass it more this year since Deshaun's finally fully integrated.
Mm-hmm. I do. I think Cleveland's going to be better. It'll be interesting to see kind of how they do throughout the whole season. I think the Bears play them. I do think Cleveland beats them there. So it'll be interesting that way. But you talk about Baltimore and obviously Lamar Jackson, that was a huge story, him coming back. And, really, I mean, they added Odell Beckham. We'll see what he is still. I don't know. They added Zay Flowers.
That guy has gotten talked up a lot.
And
people are always bagging on the short, small receivers, but then that seems people just kind of look the other way when it comes to Zay.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of him, coming out of the dynasty rookie draft. I kind of stayed away from him. Obviously you kind of look in and we talked about tight ends earlier. I mean, there are some teams that rely heavily on the tight end. I mean, with the Chiefs, obviously you have Kelsey, but with the Ravens, you have Mark Andrews. He is going to be one of the number one targets. And you look at Zay Flowers. I mean, we'll see. Obviously they're saying the Ravens got Lamar a lot more weapons, and yes, they did. But we'll see if they're mismatched. Rashad Bateman, we still don't know what he is. It's hard not to pick the Bengals in the division. And obviously we don't know what the Steelers are, but I like the Bengals. Actually, they were my Super Bowl pick again, this year. So when you look at getting the team back to the Super Bowl, I mean, what do you think? What do you think that this team, really needs to shore up to actually get back to the Super Bowl? Because I mean, it seems like they've got a lot of defensively a lot more speed, and I mean it's just somehow trying to contain that quarterback in Kansas City, right?
Well, no, last year it was containing freaking Marquez Valdez-Scantling. He goes off for
MBS,
on that
yes.
6-1-1-6. He goes 6 catches, 116 yards. I'll never forget that stat. And so that's why I'm glad they got faster and more athletic on the defense, because they did get beat a lot downfield last season.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, well that, and so you say how to get back there, like going into the playoffs, they were down 3 out of 5 offensive linemen.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I'm not using that as an excuse, but if we got all of our boys in there, I guarantee they put up more than 21 points against the Chiefs.
Well, and bringing in Orlando Brown Jr., that's obviously going to add an extra kind of edge to that rivalry as well. I mean, he's solid. Are you pretty excited for him on the line?
Oh man, yeah. So I bartend, and I had just gotten off work, and I was sitting at the bar eating whatever, and I saw on the far TV, I had NFL Network, and it was like breaking news, Cincinnati, and I was like, oh nice, hopefully they cut Joe Mixon, and then I looked on my phone, I'm like, holy cow, we got Orlando, and yeah, that was huge. That was not on my radar at all. I did an episode covering the offensive line, and I think that was like a pipe dream for me, and then next thing I know, and it wasn't even that bad of a deal. Like they got a good deal with him.
Yeah, I was surprised the Bears didn't sign him. I just don't know, if the Bears are at that point. Bengals obviously are at that point where they are going to be competing for Super Bowls. The Bears are, starting to get there. We look at a player like Orlando Brown. He's kind of, obviously a solid player, in hopefully for the Bengals, he's kind of that piece that can really kind of protect for Joe and stay healthy. I mean, I think that's important too.
And another training camp storyline I should have said was what's going on with Jonah Williams, because is he going to man up and play right tackle for us, or is he going to put on a Broadway show and be a diva?
Is that kind of what he's?
No, I know I'm just trying to be funny, but like he needs to get out there and start getting some reps.
So
people want Jackson Carman playing a right tackle, and I don't know. I'm kind of over that guy.
What about La'el Collins? Is he he's in the mix too?
Yeah, he's getting over that knee injury. There's been talks of maybe him playing left guard. Although Cordell Volson played decently there for a rookie, though. But yeah, I mean, if fully healthy, I wouldn't mind sticking him at right tackle, I guess. But like, if that's the case, then Jonah's got to go.
So Jonah, is he just kind of staying out of camp and everything?
I think so. I haven't really looked too much into it. I just haven't heard much about him.
Yeah. When you look at it, this is an interesting time of year. I mean, they say it's voluntary, but I think obviously coaches want their players there, and fans want to see that that the players are bought in, that are there too, and obviously starting to kind of gel together and get ready for the season. And when you look at this season, is it kind of Super Bowl or bust then for this season?
Maybe not. I mean, as long as Joe Burrow is there, I think it's always going to be an opportunity, especially if they keep him and Chase together for the long haul. Like, I don't necessarily think it's Super Bowl or bust, but I think the expectations are like, yeah, they should get one. It's got to be soon. I mean, I think they'll get one at least in the next 2 or 3 years, and I would love it to be this one. And probably with that aging defense, maybe it is a little more bust than that. Just trying to look at all these.
I would say, yeah. I mean, on your schedule, just kind of looking at the schedule. I mean,
it's tough.
It is. I mean, San Francisco at San Francisco is going to be a tough one. That's after the bye, so that should be all right. Seattle, obviously, I think Arizona's tanking. But what about the Vikings? Are you worried about the Vikings at all?
No. Kirk Cousins I'm not a Kirk Cousins guy. I think they'll have fun with him.
Yeah, I mean the biggest thing I think defensively, containing Justin Jefferson, but the Minnesota defense I think is they lost a lot, and I think it might be a transition year for them. That'll be interesting. But that New Year's Eve game at Kansas City is that's going to be an interesting one.
They always got to put it late in the season too. I can't stand it.
Yeah. And then
yeah, I'm excited for that one. I'm excited, nervous. There's always going to be crazy stipulations with that game. Like that's probably going to be for the number 1 seed or something like that.
It very well could be. Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, when you look at then the Cleveland to end, that is going to be such an interesting game as well. Do you go to a lot of games?
Actually, I've never been to one.
You haven't? Okay.
I've actually never lived in Cincinnati. I've carried on my fandom through my father because he was from there. But yeah, no, I would love to go.
I've heard, yeah. So, I've watched some different videos, and I've heard it's kind of interesting place to go to for a visiting fan. Obviously, this is from a Cleveland Browns fan. He said it wasn't all that family friendly, but I mean, when you talk about football games, it's fans are going to be, especially in a rivalry like that. I mean, that's going to be huge. I mean, I'm a Bears fan. I went to my first Bears games at Soldier Field this year, and possibly going to go to the Packer game, and I don't imagine that being a very family friendly atmosphere either. So,
probably not. Are you excited about the new stadium?
We'll see where it's going to be at. Yes, I'm excited that they're going to do something. It's obviously come out now that with property taxes and things like that, it may change location. I think that might just be a bluff. We'll see on that, but I am excited that there's going to be a new stadium. I don't live in Chicago. I'm not married to the old Soldier Field. I mean, it's just, it's fun going to, but it's an outdated stadium.
I heard it's hard to get to.
It is. I mean, yeah. I mean, the parking, you have to walk a decent, ways away from it. Yeah.
They do host a lot of rugby events. I'm a rugby player, and they're always hosting big like New Zealand and Ireland matchups. The USA.
Yeah, it's a lot of history kind of right around it. It's interesting, but if you add a state of the art new stadium, and you can add more revenue into the franchise, I'm all for that, and I think that's what you need in some of these NFL teams going forward. You just need that. And so I'm looking forward to what it'll be, and obviously I'm looking forward to what the Bears will be as well. But this time of year with the NFL, I feel like we're all just positive, and I think there's a lot to look forward to. I appreciate you coming on. Where can everyone find you again?
Twitter at RIESSER14. Or at Ethos Bengals, ETHOS Bengals.
And you said when the season gets started, then you start to do more articles, things like that?
Yeah, more podcast episodes. Right now I'm doing one every 2 weeks but during the season I'll be pumping out a lot more content.
Looking forward to that. Definitely like, subscribe, all that, and we'll share all your articles when they come out. Thanks again for coming on, Josh, and look forward to connecting in the season.
Hey, thank you for having me, man. I had a great time.
Once again, this has been an NFL Outdated coverage series on the Cincinnati Bengals 2023 season. Thanks again.